Hi, everyone, and welcome to Media Capital. This is a podcast where consumer investing meets media innovation. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Erez, the founder of HolidayHeroes, a personalized, intent-driven holiday booking platform. HolidayHeroes is known for its AI-powered and design personalized feed, just like Spotify, Instagram, or Pinterest, but for travel. In under 3 years, they served over 80,000 travelers, and I will ask Erez to make sure that's correct, but with a 26% repeat rate and with strong unit economics. If you're a consumer founder, you know how hard it is to get those repeat bookings. So we'll talk a bit more about that in the show. Part of this fantastic growth is due to their go-to-market strategy, which we think is quite unique. And Erez focused on building strong media partnerships in each market and investing in brand advertising early on. So in this episode, we'll talk about some of the biggest learnings from building an international travel tech platform and how this decision to invest in brand advertising early on led to amplifying not only the brand awareness, but also using the large-scale TV campaigns to optimize a strong digital acquisition funnel. So if you're passionate about consumer investing and brand advertising as we are, don't forget to follow the pod, leave a review, and check out more content at mediaforgrowth.com. And now I'm turning to Erez to say, hello, how are you and how was your holiday? I hope you took a holiday.
Oh, yeah, that was a small one. So in one end, I'm dealing with travel, but in the other end, I'm a founder and a CEO of a startup. So holidays is a big word, but I managed to take some days. So that was great and great to be here and to start the year together. That's amazing.
Me too, me too. Where are you dialing in from? Because you're always on a plane.
Yeah, I'm usually on a plane, but currently I'm in Munich, our European headquarters, where we manage our European activities, mainly in Germany.
Iris, before we dive into Holiday Heroes, and I would love to know and learn more about it, and obviously you've been on our program, so we're very well acquainted. I want to talk a bit about your journey before building Holiday Heroes, something that we call the life before the brand. Let's maybe kick things off with just hearing your story. What should we know about Eris, not the founder of Holiday Heroes?
So you told me we have 50 minutes, but I think we need 2 hours. No, just kidding. So I'm Israeli. I moved to Paris in 2000 for study. I decided to study in Paris, started my BA, then continued to my MBA in Paris. And I just felt in love with France as a country, as a tourist country. And I had the opportunity to travel across France. And one of the things back then I discovered, and I said, wow, for me, France was Paris. And no, France is not Paris. France, is Côte d'Azur and Provence and Dordogne and Burgundy and Normandy. And I said, wow, that's amazing. There's so much to do. And then as a student, I decided to start selling packages to group of students deep in France. And that's how I started. I called hotel and I took some rooms and then I organized buses and so on. And that's how I started, very small. And in 2003, I opened my first, what we call inbound travel agency. So an inbound travel agency is the one that is signing contract with hotel. And really back then I was still in my last year of studies, but I said, no, I don't have time. I'm going to open an inbound travel agency selling France. And the USP was that back then I said, no, I'm not selling Paris. And everyone that came, so foreign tour operator back then, before the internet, everything was so travel agent, tour operator, so everything was very structured. And they came and said, okay, but we have group for Paris. And I said, no, but I'm not selling Paris. Sorry, I'm selling only France. Yes, but you're in France, so can you help us with our group in Paris? And for some of them, it was super frustrating. But for other, they just kept me as the one specialized in France and not in Paris. And that gave me the first lesson, focus. Because then it was clear for me that it's how people remember you. And it was super nice. And then I started to work on charter flight. So I started to take flight as well as a tour operator, taking airline commitment on flight together with hotel rooms, starting to sell packages. The traditional, today we can say it's super traditional, but back then that was the business. I think the main thing that I felt that the power that was in my end suddenly was in the end of everyone, because suddenly everyone can get access to information. It's crazy. And before, they needed to send me an email so I can tell them where to travel to. And they just accept that. And they said, okay, fine, we'll take it. And suddenly you feel this change by having customers that are becoming sophisticated. And then you need to become sophisticated. And that's the point. In 2010, I met Yoni, who was my co-founder, who's a software engineer, crazy. Yeah, I think he started at the age of 10 to start programming. He's just doing amazing stuff. And I sat with him and I told him, let's join forces because I need to find solution because I need to be online. And it was funny because back then our first meeting was in an internet cafe. We sat and we opened and we put €1 and another €1 just to have and I told him, you see this side, I want this. And Yoni was the guy who said, oh, no problem. Yes. And I said, okay, and can we combine flight and hotel? And oh yeah, no problem, fine, everything was up, and I was super excited back then. I said, okay, now we're talking, and we decided to build a platform that will allow us, I will say, to realize our dream. And our dream was to just being able to sell online packages and flight and so on. Expedia started back then and other websites started back then, and the .com became the big thing in travel. Yoni told me, Erez, I need 6 months to be online. I said, Yoni, I don't have 6 months. We need to be online immediately. So we had a brand.com, and we just published without a website, but with a telephone number. And back then, the .com was the brand by itself. It just was the brand. And that was amazing, and that's how we grow. And I understood that either you're a tech company and product-led company, either you're a travel company using technology, or you're a tech company in travel with an expertise in travel. And that's the choice we needed to do. And I think it was 2016, we made the choice and we said, okay, you know what? Let's build our own OTA on top of the platform that we build. And we're going to concentrate on being a product company. This is our product. We're going to create an amazing website mainly for flight. We were the first one that allowed to combine different airlines between them. That will be the big thing. Let's develop. Amazing. And then the first brand that we launched was back then in Israel. It's a big market for travel. And then I started to do the work on, okay, but we need to get known. How people will know us. Google back then, what we saw in Google is that every month you're getting the same traffic for 30% more cost. And I say, what's going on here? How do we going to manage it? It's just impossible, because in travel, the margin is, so you need really to control your customer acquisition costs. Otherwise, your unit economic are just not profitable. So at that point of time, I went to Keshet, which is the largest media group in Israel. And I said, okay, I need you to build my brand. And I don't have the budget for. Okay. And they look at me and say, what do you mean you don't have a budget? TV is cost. You need to pay. And I said, no, let's build it together. They didn't have yet any program for media for equity, media for revenue. They didn't know about that. But I said, guys, let's find a solution. Let's build it together. Let's build a brand and so on. And it took 9 months to convince them, and we signed the first media deal. We went live, was super successful. And then COVID arrived 2019.
Clearly, you've been in travel for your entire career. So that's your passion. We can dive a bit into not just what you're passionate about, because clearly you turned that passion into a business. But when you went to Keshet, you went to Keshet because you already believed, or at least you placed a bet on brand advertising. And I think what this conversation is about, and working with other founders, is also about trying to bring back brand advertising. And you mentioned the likes of Google and Expedia, and now there's so many others, bookings.com, that spend billions and billions in SEO and search. And if you're an up and coming travel platform, it's really difficult to be seen and heard. But you thought that building a brand early on, that's basically going to pay off in the long run. Where it may sound like a very basic question, but why? Why not go and spend on digital channels like everyone does? because it's measurable, it's performance marketing, and then think about brands later on when perhaps you would have different revenue, different budgets?
So first of all, I really believe that we have product that really bring a differentiation in the market. So it really, first of all, it starts by having a great product. For me, that's always was very important. So we built a product that was really different. We had something to shout on. Because if you're exactly like everyone else, then it's very difficult to build a brand even. Because if you don't have a clear message on what are you bringing and so on. So the momentum was that lots of locals, more locals, price going down on travel, the flight travel that was something that was deserved for only rich people and so on suddenly become accessible. And we add this uniqueness of combining different airline in order to save money, to have better timing and so on. And that gives me the confidence to say, okay, if we go in Google, people will just look for flight to Paris, holiday in London, or whatever. And they're going to find us between tens of hundreds of different competitors. They're going to click on us, they're going to come, and they won't trust us. Because travel, it's completely different. It's not like you buying a TV, you're going to get the TV the next day or a week later. You're buying your holiday sometimes 3 times in advance, and you don't get anything really. You just get a confirmation. And you want to make sure that the day you're going to fly, you're really going to be accepted at the airport. Why would you trust just a new brand? And then I said, there's nothing compared to TV. When someone is seeing you on TV, then you're a big one. You come directly to play with the big ones. And that's why it's not about measuring, because how can you really measure? Come on, let's be honest. Until today, it's very difficult to measure exactly. But the measure needs to be on the entire business to see how your business grow. And that's how we measure. And that's why I decide to say, okay, let's go build a brand. It will take us the time it needs, but it's going to be much faster than just going and spending our money in Google.
5 years forward, is this actually working? I guess the question we always get, is this actually working? And despite the challenges of measuring, and obviously there's a lot more attribution out of more software these days, but I completely get where you're coming from. What impact do you see? And I think one of the things we often talk about is how this actually impacts your other digital channels.
The brand I was just talking, my first media deal was 8 years ago in 2016. And right after COVID, we decided to build a new brand, and we did it again, starting with Keshet, then RTL and so on. So yes, it worked. It worked because when you see your acquisition cost just cut in half in less than a year. And that's when you realize the power of a brand. And the reason why your Google starts very high, and after your TV campaign for 6 months, you suddenly see your Google cost and your conversion rate goes high and your customer acquisition goes down, then you understand how can it be? This is the brand. So that's where we allocate the cost of a brand into. So it works, and it's powerful because people are coming and looking for you rather than looking for holiday in or fly to, etc. They're looking for you. And that's where you know that you can be profitable in your unit economic. When people are looking for you and not just the service you provide. This is a big difference. Only brand can do that.
Are there any specific tactics or campaigns that worked really well or perhaps didn't work so well? And I do remember when we sat in the program, and what I love about the way you think in building a brand is you're very adamant about having the best people and media planners in-house and doing this in-house. And perhaps this is not necessarily a tactic, but I think it's a business decision that I think is quite interesting. I would love to talk about that and why. So maybe let's start with that. Why building in-house as opposed to partnering, for example, with a media agency? And also what specific tactics worked for Holiday Heroes?
First of all, building a brand is not a tactic, it's a strategy. When it's a strategy, you don't use external services for something that is strategic for the company. There's a lot of things we can use external, and we externalize a lot of things. But at the end of the day is understanding what will make this business successful. And if marketing, branding is part of it, then it needs to be in-house. If it's not the most important thing, then yes, you can externalize it. And yes, there are lots of, I'm hearing a lot of businesses that are giving it to agencies, and they have the right expertise. I'm not saying they have the right expertise, but the question is, are they able to take from scratch a brand from zero and to really build it with all the challenges in the start without understanding exactly the product, without seeing what works, what doesn't work, testing and so on? I'm not sure it's possible. It is possible only when it's done together. And I can tell you that even there, it's super challenging. Let's talk about mistakes. Okay, it's very nice to talk about everything that works. But when it doesn't work is when marketing and product doesn't sit together and doesn't work together. That's where it doesn't work. It just doesn't work because marketing thinks that they're going to push in a certain direction, bring a user in a certain funnel and in a certain way, and product thinks completely different. Product is building his product in a certain way, having a clear journey for the customer, and the customer experience is built in a certain way. Marketing are building traffic in completely different, and then no one understands why the conversion rate is so low. Wow, this is strange. They're coming searching for one thing, I'm offering a different thing, and the conversion rate is low. So yes, the conversion rate is low. But when you connect the dot, when you bring marketing to product together, and that's why we're talking now on a product marketing team, then all comes together. And I can tell that we've done this mistake. Our marketing and product were for some time disconnected. And it's only when we realize that this is one team and not two teams, the product and the marketing, then we started to see our conversion rate. And I can tell you, we started with 0.2%. We crossed 1% after 18 months. So we went very high. But this is only when this worked together. And I'm seeing this mistake in big companies, in small companies. You can easily see that when I click on a link to get to your website and there's no correlation between what I ask in Google and what you're showing me on your website, or what the TV says and what is really on the product, then it's broken. And when this is broken, you can invest all your money. And we lost money because we invested wrong. And it's not about a bad investment. It's about a disconnection between the marketing cost and the marketing channel and the product. And this is for me key.
What about creatives? So let's talk about, again, probably some of the challenges that I think a lot of founders, when they make their way onto TV, sometimes creatives don't get enough credit. And we talked about this before. As a rule of thumb, an agency would tell you, or a design studio, allocate 15%, maybe 10% of your marketing budget to creative cost. And when you're just getting started, you're thinking, oh, if I'm spending $2 million on this TV campaign, trying to put $200,000 into a TV ad, that's quite expensive, right? What was your approach to creatives? Anything that didn't work or anything that worked brilliantly from the start?
The role of your creative, the impact on the success of a campaign, I would say it's 60%, even more. The creative is very important because we need to remember, think of a user sitting on his couch in the evening. He's not really focused. He's already defocused because he's seeing a show and suddenly there's advertising break. And during the advertising break, he's looking at it, but not really concentrate like he was when he looked at this show. So if your creative is not clear enough and it's not fun or attractive enough, he won't remember, because at the end of the day, it's all about remembering a brand. You want to build a brand. You want someone to remember. So people remember a person. So if you keep the same person, a funny person that talk, people remember when you laugh about yourself. So don't be afraid about laughing about your brand. That's fine. People remember. Now, let's not confuse. Good creative doesn't mean immediately high budget. You can reach good creative also with low budget. So not that low. There is a minimum because it needs to look good and so on. But sometimes it's about the message that you're speaking about and being clear. I'm seeing sometimes a lot of startups going into TV with 5 messages in one spot. How do you want me to remember who are you and what you're doing? There's no way. One message in a spot. Need to understand exactly what you're doing. The big challenge is the time. You're going to get 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Wow, how do I present a new brand in 20 or 30 seconds? So there are a lot of things very important in the creative. I'm hearing more and more startups and founders and so on. I'm going to try TV. I'm going to try TV. I don't know if it's the right thing to say I'm going to try TV, because usually in most of the cases, there's disappointment. Why? Because they spend 10K on a creative. They went on a small campaign on TV, and then, yeah, but look, I spent 100K and it brought me nothing. I could put those 100K on Google and it's going to give me immediately 1,000 bookings. Okay, but you got next month, you're still gonna spend 100K and get the same 1,000 booking, and next month you're gonna spend same 1,000K. But if you spend on TV today 200K or 500K, next month 500K, every month you're gonna get more and more of them, because the brand is getting stronger and your cost of Google is going down. So coming back to the creative, it's part of the deal. It's part of the deal. It's taking it as a strategic direction and building something for the long run. One thing I learned, not to be creative that you cannot optimize, that you cannot change. Because sometime you're going to do a big film somewhere, you're going to take a big team, and then every time you want to change something to adapt because this doesn't work, or this message, or you change something in your product, then you need to do it again. It doesn't make sense. The creative needs to be something that is adjustable. We did the mistake of building big stuff, and then we learned that sometimes we can do the same, but keeping flexibility in our way to adjust the messaging and adjusting the commercial.
One thing that I do want to come back to, it's about some of the learnings of scaling Holiday Heroes in different markets, especially that I think creatives play such a big role. In some markets, perhaps it's easy to adjust the creative that you've done in your home market. Some other markets will never work. But before we get there, I want to introduce a small segment which we call a shout out. Basically, what it means is mentioning somebody, could be perhaps an investor or your co-founder, which we already mentioned at the start, that truly stood out for you or had an impact either on yourself or Holiday Heroes. Is there anyone that you would like to mention, and would love to know why is that person so special?
First of all, there's a lot of people that were extremely special. First is my wife and kid, but that's on a personal level. That helped me always to cross. But if we talk about Holiday Heroes, I want to give a big shout out to our head of market in Germany. So yeah, I think Victoria Vlasek, first of all, when I came to Germany, I knew that I want her to manage our business, but I think her ability going from corporate into startup and an ability to adapt and to manage the challenge, because that's the thing. Challenge need to be managed. They won't pass, and you don't have to fear. There's no fear from challenge. It's about managing challenge. It's amazing. And most of all is the ability to build teams and to make different team from different area of the business, from product to marketing to operation, working together, chapeau. It's not easy. So to Vicky and also to Oz, who's our head of market in Israel, the way they're managing things, gathering the team and so on is just amazing for me.
I love hearing that marketing folks take the credit. It's not always the case, but of course, in a consumer brand, it has to be.
At the end of the day, the role of the markets are to bring together the different team to one single direction. They have the most important role, because if they are only here to say, okay, but my role is to make sure that everything works in the market, then they won't be successful. But when they understand that they're going to be successful if the product works right with the marketing and the operation is right and everything is one thing. And this is one of the most complex thing to build in a startup. At the end, we need the right people to make sure that, okay, no, you're going left, no, come back here. No, you're going right, no, come back here. And I'm fortunate to have amazing people who are doing that.
Exactly. I completely agree, Erez. It's to have a common narrative to go to market. And this is actually a great segue into talking about these markets, because you started in Israel. It's a very established brand. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, was it 2 years ago or last year, actually? I feel like you grew so fast that it gives me the impression you've been around for years in Germany and already looking at other markets such as UK and France right now. How did you decided to take the brand to Germany? Also curious now, why Germany and not France, given your history? And what was your approach in launching that brand, for example, to Germany? Because you took a similar approach to what you've done with Keshet in Israel, I think.
Yeah, one of the complicated part in our journey as founders, I think, is to go out of our comfort zone. We are usually very comfortable, but building a startup and being a founder of a startup, it's all about running out from your comfort zone, because that's the only way to grow, is to go out. And not only for you, but also for your teams. So making sure that they are going out from their comfort zone. And it's usually very easy to say, okay, it's working, let's keep working here. But if we want to grow, we need to go out. Why Germany? Because Germany is very competitive as well. I felt that in terms of product market fit, we have the right product. And everyone told me, if you crack Germany, you cracked Europe. So then I said, okay, so let's crack Germany. And so let's start here. Although it was much easier for me I even speak French fluently and going to France and so on. But France is a smaller market, and I managed to build the right team in Germany, led by Vicky. And I said, okay, let's go. Let's jump into Germany. That's the market. It's a huge market. Not easy to access, but we've done it. And then we started the discussion with RTL. And for a big market in Israel, we built a joint venture with the media company. Because it was a first market, it was clear for us as a company that we're going to grow outside from Israel. It won't be with joint venture, but we're going to do media for equity or media for revenue deals, etc. So we build a mix of media for equity, media for revenue with German Media Pool and RTL Group. Amazing team. RTL are just amazing. They understood the business. They got into the business. They knew exactly how to build it. Also super transparent. Usually when you come to TV, say, no, TV is enough. You can do TV. No, TV is not enough. You need to do digital. You need to do other stuff. You need to do influencer and so on. It's super, super important. And so we signed a deal with RTL, and we just launched in the second part of 2024 and expecting 25 also to continue this growth.
So, Erez, in terms of some of the lessons, so just to wrap up the episode on a high note with some of the lessons that you learned from building Holiday Heroes, is there something that you wish that you knew early on when scaling the brand?
The first mistake I've done is when we came to Germany, I met those guys from agency who told me, no, Erez, TV is not in Germany. It might work in Israel, but Germany, no, you need to go to Google. You need to go to Google. And I've done a mistake, and I said, okay, you know what? I'm not very familiar enough with the market. You seems to be super professional. Let's start with Google. We just lost money, nothing else. We just brought traffic, pay a lot of money. Yes, it allows us to learn a little bit the traffic, but We came with a different product. We eliminate the search. One of the challenges is to educate the market that you don't need to search anymore. How do you educate in Google? How do you educate in Google? And the problem is that the first months we spend money just on search when people went to Google and said, okay, I'm looking for holiday in Crete. And then Holiday Hero was there because we paid to be there. And then they got to our platform and suddenly they discover something they don't know. It's not like all the other websites that look all the same. We look different, we're more personalized and so on, but they didn't got it. And that was a big mistake. I think if you believe in brand, go all the way. Just go all the way. If you believe in it, don't spend too much money before. Go all the way, and it takes time. It takes time, it's money, resources, because it's not because you have a media for equity deal with a budget, that's it, I have my marketing plan. No, the marketing plan is a mix. So every dollar spent on TV need to be spent on digital. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Another thing that I wanted to touch on, and you alluded to, was about the budget. How has your marketing budget evolved from the very first moment you started with Keshet? Is this something that obviously, if you want to talk about, is there a ratio right now more in favor of brand advertising, or is it almost an equal split between your digital spending and brand advertising?
So we started with 80% brand and 20% performance, and we're somewhere stabilizing on 60-40, 60% brand, 40% performance marketing. That's where we are now. But we can allow ourselves to go more on performance now. Once the brand is established, then the ROI you get from the first booking already. So we even don't need to count on a lifetime value. On a first booking, we're positive. But that's only once the brand is there. The trust has been built, and then we can allow ourselves now to spend more on performance because we know we have a decent conversion rate that will end up with profitable unit economic. But at the beginning, for the first 6 months was 80% brand. And when I said brand, is very important. It's not only TV. Brand is also building. By the way, when we started in Israel, it was right after COVID. We had limited budget, and we rely mostly on our partnership with Keshet. So we didn't spend on marketing elsewhere. And it just didn't work. We started slowly, and it's only after 4 or 5 months that we started to spend money also on influencer. Building a brand is also building a digital brand. It goes together. It's not only a TV brand or out-of-home brand. If you're an online platform, you need a digital brand. And it's only when we started to build a digital brand with influencer and Instagram, social network, etc., that's where we started really to see the peak and the customer acquisition goes down. Because it was a mix of both of them, TV by itself doesn't perform enough.
Yeah, it has a great multiplier effect, exactly, when used in conjunction with other channels. I can't believe we only have a couple of minutes left. It just completely flew by. I just want to wrap up with this quick fire round section, a segment as we call it, which basically what it means, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, 30 seconds, quick fire answers, and we can start with the first one. What would be your top advice for a consumer founder or for a founder building a consumer brand?
Think marathons, don't think sprints.
That's a great advice. Now, this might be a bit challenging, but what would be the most counterintuitive thing that you've learned while running this large size media campaigns?
Yeah, even when going on TV, I was with the thinking that everyone told me, no, you need to go in Google in Germany, don't go on TV. I still had this belief, but it broke very fast. I knew we need to do a deal with a media company, and I still went into the digital.
And we are in the travel space here. So what excites you most about the travel space, Erez? What's coming up next?
It makes people happy. There's nothing else that can make you happier than traveling.
Yeah, and a great experience. Somewhere on a beach, running away from the cold winter.
Just booking your holiday makes you happy. And that's something that I'm seeing even on myself and people around me. if they have a booking already, even if you book for 6 months from now, but it's booked, you just feel better because you have something to expect for. There's nothing that can make you richer and happier more than traveling.
Yeah. And that feeling of anticipation, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can look to your hotel like 20 times. You booked it already, but you're going to look at the room. You're going to look at the area. You're going to plan your trip. That's what makes people happy. And I think being happy is the most important thing in life because that's what life is about.
I agree. And that's a choice, right?
Exactly.
It's a choice. And it's probably the perfect timing at this time of the year to plan your summer holidays. I'm sure it's probably the busiest time for you at Holiday
Oh,
Heroes,
yeah.
right?
Now is the time to start building, although we're seeing more and more people booking a bit later. But now is the time to do because those are the best prices. We offer also possibility to cancel up to 24 hours before departure and you get 90%. So we have a product that we build, Holiday Heroes Flex, which allow you to book today and you can cancel up to 24 hours before departure. So now is the time to do that because the prices are extremely low right now, but it's going to go up.
This weekend, I'm actually booking my trip to Greece. So good. Yeah, good to know. Thanks so much, Erez, for being with us today. It was a pleasure. Always great chatting with you. And you are a founder that really understands the power of brand advertising. I'm really happy that we got to record this podcast together. And I hope a lot more founders will listen to it and even reach out to you for some more learnings.
Big pleasure. Thank you very much for everything. It was just amazing time spending an hour like this. So thank you very much to you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on Media Capital. If you enjoyed the episode, leave a review, follow the pod, and subscribe at mediaforgrowth.com. Thank you. See you next time.
Join us for the exclusive launch of the MFG State of Media Capital 2025 report, the most comprehensive research on media capital as a growing investment model. The live webinar on March 5th will reveal the latest findings from the first Media Capital Fund Managers Survey, why media capital is set to reshape growth for consumer brands, and why the U.S. is poised to be an integral part of this transformation by 2030. Register at mediaforgrowth.co/hub. Wednesday, March 5th, 11 a.m. ET.